They told me I'd been sick for a long time. I knew that. I could feel it in my bones. The kind of ache that comes from years of holding on to things you were supposed to let go of. But that morning felt different. The hospital room was too quiet. The light slipping through the blinds looked pale and tired, like it didn't want to wake up either. My nurse, Clara, smiled as she checked my vitals. She said, "You're still fighting, Miss Evelyn." I wanted to tell her that some fights don't happen in the body. They happen in the soul. But I was too weak to speak. My daughter sat by my bed, holding my hand so gently I could barely feel it. Her thumb brushed my skin like she was afraid I'd break. I watched her eyes, the same eyes that used to roll when I'd lecture her about life, now red and heavy with tears she wouldn't let fall. I could hear the machines, that slow, rhythmic asterisk, beep, beep, beep asterisk, keeping time for a heart that was losing the rhythm of living. Every beep felt further apart, slower, quieter, like the world was gently closing its eyes around me. Then, somewhere deep inside, I felt it. A pull. Not painful, not frightening, just final. My chest rose once more, but the air didn't come back out. The sound of the monitor changed. That long, flat tone filled the room, slicing through the air like a blade of truth. Asterisk, be up. My daughter screamed my name. The nurse shouted for help. Feet rushed in, voices layered over each other. "She's coding. Get the crash cart. Come on, Evelyn, stay with us." But I wasn't there anymore. I could see them, Clara pressing hard on my chest. The doctor's face tight with focus. My daughter shaking, praying, but it was all far away. Like a movie playing behind glass. I was floating above it all, my body still, my soul weightless. And for the first time in my 80 years on this earth, I felt peace, no pain, no fear, just stillness. The colors around me began to fade, the walls, the lights, the people. Everything melted into a gentle gray mist. My hospital bed disappeared beneath me, and I was standing barefoot in a place I couldn't name. The air shimmered like sunlight on water. I could hear something, not words exactly, but a harmony, a hum that felt alive. It called to me. I turned toward it and saw a light, not bright like a lamp, not white like snow, but golden, soft, warm, pulsing with something I can only call love. It didn't blind me. It embraced me. The closer I moved, the lighter I felt, as if all my years, my pain, my regrets were peeling off me, floating away like dust in sunlight. Then I realized I wasn't walking. I was being carried, by what? I didn't know. But it felt like arms invisible, strong, gentle. Behind me, I heard distant echoes. "We're losing her. Start compressions again." Their voices faded until all that was left was the golden hum. Time didn't exist there. Every second felt eternal, yet no time passed at all. And then, I saw shadows moving within the light. Shapes, people. At first, I couldn't see their faces, just outlines glowing softly. Then one stepped forward. A woman, tall, graceful, dressed in light itself. My breath, if I still had breath, caught. "Grandma Ruth," I whispered. She smiled, and it was the kind of smile that could heal a heart just by existing. She didn't speak with words, but I felt her voice ripple through me. "It's all right, baby. You can rest now." I took a step toward her. I wanted to go home. I wanted to lay my burdens down where they couldn't hurt me anymore. But then, behind her, I saw something else. A gate, wide as the horizon, made of golden threads and light that danced like fireflies. Beyond it, a warmth so deep it made every sorrow I'd ever known seem small. I reached for it. I reached for her. And right before I touched her hand, a sound split through the peace. A harsh, cold sound that didn't belong in this place. Clear. Then, thunder in my chest. Pain, pressure, the light dimmed. Clear again. Another bolt. The warmth began to pull away. Grandma Ruth's face blurred, her hand still outstretched. "Not yet, Baby, her voice echoed. You still have something left to do. And then darkness. When I opened my eyes again, I wasn't in heaven anymore. But what I brought back with me changed everything. The first thing that returned was the weight. It fell on me all at once like a storm dropping from a clear sky, pressing me back into a body that felt too small for what I had just seen. My chest burned, my ribs ached like doors forced open, and my throat tasted like metal and thunder. A voice crashed through the haze, urgent and close. Miss Evelyn, breathe for me. That's it. In and out. My eyes fluttered. White ceiling, blurred lights, voices layered like distant church bells after a rain, and then the sound of a sob, raw and grateful. Mom! I turned my head the smallest degree and saw her, my daughter, cheeks wet, hands clasped around mine like she was holding the fabric of the world together. I tried to answer, but only air escaped. The nurse Clara leaned into view, eyes shining with relief and shock. A doctor stood behind her, hands still trembling, the defibrillator pads darkening his gloves. 12 minutes, he whispered, as if afraid to disturb whatever mystery had resurrected me. You were gone for 12 minutes. Gone. The word didn't frighten me. Not after what I'd seen. The memory of the golden hum still vibrated in me, steady as a heartbeat beneath the human one they'd fought to restore. I closed my eyes, and like a tide, the other place moved toward me again. Not with sight, but with feeling. A path woven from light, the warmth of a hand I hadn't touched since childhood. My Grandma Ruth's smile. Water, I rasped. Clara brought a straw to my lips. I sipped. The simple grace of it, the coolness, the effort. The living of it bloomed in my chest, like morning glory on an old fence. The doctor cleared his throat. We'll run scans. Make sure there's no neurological damage. He looked into my eyes for a long, searching second, as though expecting to find them empty. But I was not empty. I was a full vessel, heavy with something holy I did not yet have words for. Where did you go? My daughter whispered when the room quieted. Not accusing, not afraid. Just a child again, asking her mother to describe the sunrise. I opened my mouth, closed it, then let the truth rest on my tongue. Home, I whispered. But not to a house made of brick. Her breath hitched. Clara's hand paused on the monitor wires. Even the machines seemed to soften their beeping, listening. I told them only a sliver. About the light that didn't blind, the path that carried me, the way love felt like a sound I could hear with my whole self. Their faces changed, skepticism, dissolving into a kind of reverence. People save for sanctuaries and graves. The doctor kept his hands in his pockets. I could tell he didn't want to touch a miracle he couldn't measure. But the hospital faded again, and I was back on that path, not with feet, but with memory. Not with eyes, but with knowing. The air there had its own music, low, golden, patient. It said, you are more than the aches that wore your knees, more than the sorrows that thinned your hair. You are the song beneath the skin. I saw my life, like a quilt lifted to the light patchwork. Squares of laughter and sharp corners of regret. Each piece joined to another by threads I'd barely noticed while I was busy living. Mercy, patience, the kind of love that keeps stirring the pot, even when the soup is almost gone. Grandma Ruth stood by the gate, that threshold woven from light. Wide as mercy, gentle as a lullaby hummed in the kitchen after midnight. Not yet, she had said. Not harsh. Not denying. More like a gardener who knows the fruit isn't ripe, even if it looks pretty on the branch. Why? I asked her now. Inside myself, inside that echo that filled the room. Why send me back to this old body, to this ache and hunger and grief? The answer arrived without sound. Because someone still needs what only you can give. I thought of my daughter's face, the pride and stubbornness she inherited straight from me, the loneliness she never spoke aloud. I thought of my son, hard as a winter road these last years, brittle with anger and old misunderstandings. I thought of the neighbor girl, whose baby I used to rock when her nights were longer than her hope. Names and faces wove themselves into a net, and I realized love is the work. And I was not done working. Miss Evelyn. Clara's voice tugged me back. Can you squeeze my hand? I did. Weak, but certain. Life moved again inside me, not as a demand but as a calling. The ceiling didn't change. The pain didn't dissolve. But something in me had adjusted the lens. Even suffering had a softer edge when I understood it wasn't the whole picture. The doctor returned with words like post-resuscitation care, oxygen saturation, EEG, all necessary as winter coats when the wind turns mean. I nodded. Let them do their careful science. I had no quarrel with it. After all, those hands brought me back, and I bless them for it. But my truth was stitched from a different fabric. I couldn't hold up to the light of their machines. When they left us alone, my daughter rested her head on the mattress and sobbed like a child. Hiding in her mother's skirt, I stroked her hair with shaky fingers. I whispered, I'm not afraid anymore. She lifted her head, eyes searching. Of dying. Of living wrong, I said. Of holding on to things God already forgave. We lay in that quiet a while, letting the beeps become a gentle metronome, teaching our breathing a new rhythm. The room felt less like a battlefield and more like a porch at dusk, where stories tell themselves because the night invites them. I turned my face toward the window. The blinds still let through that pale light, thin as a hymn sung by one lonely voice. But beneath it, I heard the golden hum, the one the world can't drown. It did not drag me away this time. It settled in my ribs, steady as faith. Not yet, Grandma had said. All right then, I thought. Not yet. But the message I carried back, the one that would break a curse in our family, didn't reveal itself until the first night, when a familiar shadow stood at the foot of my bed and called me Mama. When I woke that night, the room was quiet except for the soft hum of machines keeping time with my borrowed heart. The air smelled faintly of disinfectant and something sweet, maybe the lilies my daughter brought that morning, now wilting in a glass cup by the window. Moonlight crept across the floor, pale as the edge of a memory. I lay still, afraid that if I moved too fast, I'd slip back into that other world. I had just come from the one made of golden grace. But I was here, back in this heavy, creaking body, back where time mattered. I could hear the night nurse's shoes squeak faintly in the hallway. And for a long time, I just listened to the rhythm of life around me. It felt foreign, like being in a house that used to be yours but had been rearranged while you were gone. Then, I heard it. A soft sob. My daughter was sitting in the chair beside me, chin resting on her chest, trying to hide her tears in her lap. Even in the half-dark, I could see how tired she was, hair uncombed, face drawn, eyes swollen. Grief had built a home in her before I came back to take it away. Baby, I whispered. Her head snapped up, and for a moment she just stared at me like she was seeing a ghost. Then she reached for me so fast, the 4-tube rattled. Mama, oh God, Mama. I smiled weakly. You thought I left you, didn't you? She nodded, sobbing, clutching my hand like she could anchor me to this side of life. If she just held tight enough. For 12 minutes, I had been gone. But to her, it must have felt like forever. I tried to lift my hand to her cheek, but the strength wasn't there. So I spoke instead. I saw Grandma Ruth, I whispered. She told me it wasn't my time yet. My daughter froze. You mean, you saw her? Like, really, saw her. I nodded slowly. As real as I see you now. She bit her lip, looking torn between fear and wonder. But before she could ask, the door creaked open, and Nurse Clara peeked in. Her face softened when she saw us awake. Well, look who's up, she said gently. You scared us half to death, Miss Evelyn. I chuckled weakly. Seems I've been giving folks a lot of practice with death lately. Clara smiled, but her eyes stayed on the heart monitor, as if she still didn't quite believe what she was seeing. You've got strong angels watching over you, she said. Checking my 4. Most people don't come back after 12 minutes. Not like this. No brain damage. No confusion. You came back whole. I didn't tell her I hadn't come back the same asterisk. I could still feel something humming inside me, like a song I couldn't unhear. A part of that golden world was still stitched into my soul. The warmth, the light, the voices that spoke without words. It was as if heaven had left a fingerprint on my heart. When Clara left, my daughter dozed off beside me, hands still gripping mine. I turned my gaze toward the window. The moon hung there, watching quietly, and for a moment, the hospital walls faded away. I saw the path again, the glowing one I'd walked before waking up. I saw Grandma Ruth's face in the light, calm and steady, like she was still watching me from that side. Then I heard it faint but clear, a voice that wasn't in the room. It came from somewhere deeper, inside my chest. Tell them what you saw, it said. Tell them that love doesn't end. I gasped, clutching my blanket. The voice wasn't frightening, it was familiar. It was the same one that had called me back when I was floating between life and death. And suddenly, I understood what Grandma Ruth had meant. You still have something left to do. Maybe that something was this: to tell people that death wasn't a full stop, only a comma. That there was more beyond the silence, more than fear and pain. That love was still alive, even where the heartbeat stopped. I lay there, letting that thought settle deep inside me like scripture. The machines beeped softly, steady as a lullaby. I wasn't just breathing oxygen. I was breathing purpose. When dawn came, the nurse opened the blinds, and light poured in, not golden like before, but gentle, human, morning light. It washed over my hands, and I smiled. Because now I knew something most people only wonder about. Death is not the enemy. Forgetting love is. But that night, as sleep carried me away again, I felt something stir in the darkness, a shadow at the foot of my bed, whispering my name like it had followed me back from the light. That night, I couldn't sleep. The room was dim, quiet except for the soft beeping that reminded me I was still alive. But something in the air felt different, like the silence itself was listening. I kept glancing at the corner of the room where the moonlight spilled through the blinds. It wasn't fear that kept me awake. It was knowing that something followed me back from the other side. I tried to close my eyes, but the memory of the light wouldn't fade. It wasn't just a place, it was alive, breathing, pulsing with love. Every moment since I'd woken, I'd felt its echo humming in my chest, like a second heartbeat. It was gentle during the day, but at night, it grew louder, like it wanted to speak. I whispered a prayer under my breath. Lord, if there's something you need me to see, show me. And that's when it happened. The room filled with warmth, not heat, but something deeper, almost like the air had turned to gold. My eyes opened wide. There, standing at the foot of my bed, was a figure. The same shadow I'd felt earlier, only now I could see her clearly. Grandma Ruth. She looked just like she did when I was a little girl, her hair wrapped in a scarf, her Sunday dress pressed and perfect, her smile soft as butter on cornbread. The only difference was the light. It poured out of her like a sunrise that had finally found its way into the dark. Grandma, I whispered, my throat trembling. You came back. She nodded, her eyes shining with that familiar mix of love and knowing. Child, I never left. You just couldn't see me before. Tears slid down my cheeks. Why me? Why did I get to come back when so many don't? She stepped closer, her presence filling the room with peace. Because there's still something God needs you to say. You saw what waits beyond. You felt it. Now it's time to tell them. Tell who? I asked. The doctors. My family. Nobody's gonna believe. She held up her hand, and I went quiet. This ain't about belief, baby. It's about remembrance. Folks have forgotten what love really is. They think it ends when the heart stops beating. But you know now, Love don't die. It just changes its form. I couldn't stop crying. Every word she spoke filled me with warmth and ache at the same time. She leaned closer, and though I knew she wasn't made of flesh anymore, I could feel her touch my hand. It wasn't cold. It was like being held by sunlight. Tell them, she said again. Tell them to forgive before it's too late. Tell them heaven ain't far, it's here. She touched my chest, right where my heart beat faintly. Right here, when you choose to love instead of hate. Then her eyes softened, and she looked past me toward the chair by my bedside. My daughter was asleep there again, hands still resting near mine. Grandma Ruth smiled. She carries your same stubborn fire. Don't let it turn to ash. Mend what's been broken before it's her turn to cross. I nodded, swallowing hard. I will. The air shimmered again, like the room itself was exhaling. She began to fade, the light dimming around her. Grandma, wait, I said quickly. Will I see you again? Her smile deepened. You already do. Every time you choose kindness, every time you speak truth, that's where I live now. And then she was gone. The warmth drifted away, leaving behind only moonlight and the faint rhythm of my heart monitor. But I wasn't afraid. I knew what I had to do. The next morning, when the doctor came in, he found me sitting up in bed, my voice stronger than the day before. My daughter looked at me like she couldn't quite believe I was the same woman who'd been declared dead. Mom, she whispered, you look different. I am, I said. I've seen what waits after this, and I'm done carrying pain. She frowned. What do you mean? I mean it's time we forgive each other. It's time we stop letting hurt run our family like it's an inheritance. She started crying before I even finished. All those years of silence between us, gone in an instant. I pulled her close and held her until the both of us could breathe again. For the first time in decades, peace filled the space between us. Not just the peace of being alive, but the peace of being awake. And as I held her, I realized what the real message was, not just for her, but for everyone. Heaven isn't waiting on us. It's calling us through love, right here, right now. But the night after I forgave her, I saw Grandma Ruth again, and this time, she wasn't alone. Someone else was standing beside her. Someone I never thought I'd see again. The next night, the hospital seemed quieter than usual. Even the air felt hushed, as if it were waiting for something sacred to unfold. My daughter had gone home to rest for the first time in days, leaving me alone with the soft hum of the oxygen machine and the faint rhythm of my heart monitor. I thought I'd finally be able to sleep, but the stillness kept me awake. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw the golden path again, the one made of light and memory. Where love spoke in colors, I could feel it calling me like a familiar hymn, tugging softly at the edges of my soul. But I wasn't afraid, not anymore. I whispered into the dark. I remember what you said, Grandma. I told her. I forgave her. I did what you asked. The silence answered like a breath, gentle, steady, alive. Then, something shifted. The air thickened with warmth, and the faint scent of gardenias filled the room, the same scent my Grandma Ruth used to wear every Sunday morning. I opened my eyes, and there she was again, standing at the foot of my bed, but she wasn't alone this time. Beside her stood a man I hadn't seen in 30 years, my husband, James. The name trembled out of me like a prayer I hadn't dared to speak aloud in decades. He looked just the same, tall, handsome eyes, soft with regret. Only now, he was surrounded by that same golden light that wrapped around Grandma. He didn't say a word at first. He just smiled. The kind of smile that used to melt all the anger I thought I'd buried. Tears welled up before I could stop them. I never got to tell you I forgave you, I whispered. He stepped closer, and though I knew his body wasn't flesh anymore, I could feel his presence warm, familiar. Alive in a way no living man could ever be. You did, he said softly. Every time you prayed for peace, every time you chose love instead of bitterness. I felt it. I couldn't stop crying. My heart felt too full for my chest. Then why are you here now? Because it's time. You know what love really was between us, he said. We were messy, broken, and proud. But beneath all that pain, we never stopped loving. You just needed to see it from where I am now. I shook my head slowly, breath trembling. You hurt me, James. You left me with scars I thought would never heal. He nodded. And you loved me through all of it. That's why heaven sent me back with her. He looked at Grandma Ruth, who smiled, radiant and knowing, to show you that real love doesn't end when the body does. It becomes something stronger, purer. For a long moment, none of us spoke. The room was drenched in golden stillness, like the world itself was holding its breath. I wanted to stay in that moment forever. But the truth of being alive is that forever doesn't belong here. I could feel the pull again, that gentle tug, like a tide calling me home. I can't go with you, I said softly. James smiled, shaking his head. No, you can't, not yet. You still have work to do. What kind of work? He stepped closer, placed a hand over my heart. You're going to tell them, Evelyn. Tell them what you saw, what you learned. People have forgotten how to love past the grave. You can remind them. My chest burned with emotion, my eyes blurred with tears. How will they listen? Who am I to tell them? You're the one who's been there, Grandma Ruth said, her voice gentle as morning light. You saw that heaven isn't far away, just hidden behind the noise of the world. And then, as quickly as they had appeared, the golden glow began to fade. The scent of gardenias drifted away. My room was just a hospital room, again cold, pale, and small. But I wasn't alone. Their warmth stayed behind, a soft hum beneath my skin, a whisper in every breath. I looked toward the window. Dawn was beginning to stretch across the sky, painting the horizon with the same gold I'd seen on the other side. It was like heaven had left its fingerprints there, reminding me it was real. I smiled through my tears. I'll tell them, I whispered. Every word, every light, every bit of love you showed me. The monitor beside me beeped steady and sure, marking time not just for a life that had been returned, but for a purpose reborn. Now, every morning that I wake, I write. I write about the light. I write about forgiveness. I write about love that crosses death like a bridge no shadow can break. And every night, when the world grows quiet, I hear it again. That whisper in the dark, gentle as a prayer. You're never alone, child. Heaven is closer than you think.